My man.
My man, listen, the famous G motherfucking B right here, okay? He said all these friends get to call him that, so I guess I'm in that club
No,
right
you
now,
earned
okay?
that, bro. You earned that. You definitely earned that, my man. So it's been an amazing few years of knowing each other. You've seen my growth.
Yes.
I like genuine individuals like yourself who can recognize and, give support to a movement. I've been traveling down this road for 30 years. I've accomplished a lot
Yeah.
in that time. I was sitting there last night looking at the screen and seeing all the stuff. And that's the stuff I just did over the last couple of years. Last time I was in Bridgeport, I was here for my Fatima's Revenge
Yes.
premiere, and that's when I met you. I was like, this dude is for real. Here we are again, man.
What do you say your
Let's
name?
talk.
Well, listen, man, you bring in quality stuff, and all the way back to Fatima's Revenge, getting a chance to see what the preview looked like, and you being a young, energetic brother, bringing that to the community was critical, and often we kind of lose that when people are bringing stuff to us. We all have to use whatever resources we have to help bring that success, man. Too many times we're living in these little silos, and like he's doing this and he's doing that, and someone like yourself bring something like that to Bridgeport, which is like we have the largest black community in the state of Connecticut. And when people think of Connecticut, they're not really thinking of black people, okay? And
That's
Bridgeport,
certainly me.
what we had was 66% black and Latino. It's 33% white. So when somebody comes in, man, and have a chance to do this, we loved it. So when you gave us the opportunity, because Fatima's Revenge, you were having a limited release, Atlanta and so on. And, I manage a group of beautiful young ladies, very talented, the Faces Beauty model team. And I'm like, when we had our chance to do it here, I said, yo, man, we have to make it like a red carpet. So I called up a designer friend of mine, Hope Wade. I said, I got to give this the level that it deserves. Now, Hope has been on Good Morning America. She's a friend of Michael Strahan. She came down within like 48 hours
Wow.
with clothes, man, just to make sure that we had the right vibe. You step and repeat. It was phenomenal, man, and we enjoyed every single second of it because I wanted to make it something different that was more Hollywood style. And apparently you were happy with that. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd be honest with you. If I had a chance, I'll be here so much more often. It's a huge distance between Atlanta
yeah,
and here, but at the same time, I honestly just like the hospitality. I think you guys are often overlooked. The crazy thing is, I drive back and forth
mm-hmm.
going to Providence, and
yeah,
I can count a few times that I stopped in Bridgeport. But since I met you guys and Jay Wills and so on and so forth, it's just been an amazing sort of journey. And what's crazy is we were sitting there reflecting on how, with my latest project, a Wu-Tang experience, I was like, oh, Jay Wills is part of my team. I picked up the phone, called him, he hopped on a plane, he
yes.
went out there and was able to witness that process happen in real time. And
I'm
I,
jealous about that too, man. I'm jealous. See, Jay got the call. I didn't get the call, but it's all right. I still love Jay. Jay's down here in
yeah,
Bridgeport too, but I love Jay. He's still cool. And Jay didn't call either. I told him about that last night, man.
man.
He said, "Okay, someone got to share the love, man. That's big."
That is absolutely true. What's crazy is, well, let's go back to the beginning. I mean, please. Um, I guess, am I interviewing you or you interviewing me?
It looks like it's going both ways right now. We have
Well,
the
okay, so tell me a
conversation.
little bit
So,
about yourself, the infamous Wayne Winston. What's your background and everything?
you know, it's a weird question because God has blessed me to be in so many different places, meeting so many different people. My early origins was absolutely DJing. I love music. So we're talking like the early '80s. Even some of the '70s. You got like Wu-Tang Clan. Obviously you got Run DMC. You got Spoonie G. You got all of this music that's coming out. And prior to that, you have the bands that are out, Brass Construction. All of this great music. And so when hip hop evolves and it starts pulling samples out, I'm like, yo, there's something going on right here.
Right.
And so it starts to take over and has a tremendous impact, which Wu-Tang comes in and makes it a whole different thing because they had so many men that were in it. And I was like, how are they going to pull that off? But they did. And I
Right.
say, so for me, it's part of my musical experience and coming up as the DJ. I have a background in business management,
Wow.
in marketing. I worked for McDonald's for some years for their marketing. So it helps me do a lot
Yeah.
because some of those skill sets that we have, they connect. I was doing photography for fun. And a friend of mine,
Interesting.
Deb Williams, calls and she puts together the Harlem Week Fashion Show every year in Harlem. And, the guys that run that stuff, they've been around forever. But she has a contract and she was from Connecticut too.
I've been learning so many people are connected with Connecticut. That's the crazy thing, man. And that's amazing. So it seemed like it's a love for hip hop that we both share and
Mm,
that history. And obviously, when I heard my first hip hop track back in, must have been like 80, 81, I just fell in love with the music. I knew
hmm
it was going somewhere. I didn't know that I was going to play a major part in it. The fact that I was able to connect with Wu Tang and then, pull all my talents and resources that I picked up to be where we are now. And that's
mm.
really good. And that's part of what brought us here is the fact that we have this amazing journey. Something interesting happened the other day, right? I'm going to tell you what happened.
Okay.
We premiered a Wu Tang experience at Lincoln Center. And at the
Oh,
last minute, we invited Grandmaster Flash.
okay. Okay.
And he basically came up to me after the film and
hmm
said, when I envisioned hip hop evolving, this is what it is. For somebody
Wow.
who was an innovator and one of the
hmm
founding members of hip hop to come
hmm
up to me and tell me, "Hey, that
Wow.
film has now taken hip hop to another level." That
Wow.
was
That's
humbling,
that is incredible, man.
humbling, very humbling. You know,
Look, even when I saw, the footage, because I haven't had a chance to see the whole thing yet
right,
myself,
right, right,
it was incredible. You have a eye for every director has an eye for how they shoot. Spielberg, whatever. So you can go down that list. But you have the eye to deliver emotion and power all the way back to Fatima's Revenge,
yeah,
because that's what got me like when we saw it because we premiered it in a local theater here,
right.
the
The
Bijou
Bijou,
Theater.
yeah, beautiful. I drove past it last night. I was like, I'm coming back here soon.
Oh, they updated it. It's even more beautiful inside. So it's an independent theater, and I remember watching that, going like, "Whoa!" And I won't tell you guys all the story. You need to go check this thing out. I know you can tell them where it's at,
Right.
but you're so good at that when it becomes the hip hop. Sometimes we music videos are what we often think of is what it represents. You made a film, and I wanted it to be clear the film is different than having a music video. Now, there's nothing wrong with music videos,
Right.
but it has the film quality to it. It has the film theater experience to it, the way you shot it, and I think that that's what I think is going to make a huge difference. And for me, I work with a lot of women because I founded the Faces of Beauty model team, and that came out of working with a lot of designers because the story when I got to do this with Deborah owns excuse me, she doesn't own, but she's promoting the um, the coordination of the Harlem Week show.
Right.
Her photographer didn't show up, so she called me and said, "Wayne, I need your help." I said, "Okay, what do you need, Deb?" She says, "I need you to come out and I need you to shoot my photography, right? Come out there, I need you to shoot Harlem Week tomorrow." I mean, I was like, "Tomorrow?" I said, "Deb, it's Friday night, it's 11 o'clock. What time you want to be there?" So when you got to be there about 6. 6 o'clock? It's 11
Wow.
o'clock right now, that Friday night. You're going to be Saturday morning. Come on now, I just got in.
Right.
She said, "Okay, come in at 7." I got there, I shoot it. That is the beginning of my relationship with the Harlem Week fashion show.
I've had a few of those type of phone calls too, so I relate with you.
See what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
there's two things. There's the Harlem Week fashion show and there's Harlem Fashion Week. They're different brands.
Interesting. I didn't know
A
that.
lot of people don't, and both are good in their own right. but the Harlem Week fashion show is put on by the Harlem Chamber of Commerce. So all of the businesses that they have come together,
Mm,
and they have things all around the city. And I'm fortunate and blessed enough
to be in the
that
middle of
I'm
that.
participating in that with all these
That's a
different,
good connect.
man. So we have Spike Lee Day one year,
Wow.
and the ladies that I get to work with come from me shooting these shows. I discover designers and I submit them
That's real.
to the Harlem Week committee, because what Deborah controls is the fashion aspect. So within that, I get to work with some of the best designers in the
I was
world,
gonna say, yeah. Then you
some
got
of
the
the best
prettiest
models.
women. There you go.
Well, and it's great because the way we do it is like if you have a desire and you can still do what you need to do, and you maybe didn't get a chance, maybe you got a professional career, maybe it's personal, it's fam, as long as you can get out there and do it, work with the right skill set, I like to get them out there and get them a chance, and it works out very well. So that's who came out on your day, man. I made the call. I said, "Who's available?" And I'm
Wow.
going through my Rolodex right there. I can do it when, and I'm
That
working
favor
on
got returned.
it.
That's amazing. Let me check something real quick.
Yes.
Let me do this. Just move it a little bit. How do you zoom in? Oh, you can't on a selfie. Make sure. Okay.
Okay.
I couldn't see the tally light, so we're still going.
Okay. Cool.
With these things, you gotta always verify.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So listen, let's talk a little bit about the state of hip hop. We are celebrating 50 years.
Oh man, listen. No one knew hip hop was going to go 50 years. I mean, we were. It was optimistic. Don't get me wrong, optimistic, but it's not something I think that anyone could forecast in that way, because we saw the evolution from NWA. They brought more like the gangster from California,
Exactly.
and it was the first time I saw a gun, riddle bullets across the screen in a video. Like, whoa, there's a lot right there, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're adding stuff, and to see the original. I enjoy the original hip hop. That maybe it's the generational thing. There's a lot of great new artists out. They're cool.
Hmm.
Um, I would love to see more of the collaborations between the current artists
The older.
and some of the originals. Because the fact is, I mean, these guys are getting older for one. It's that kind of thing in our community to honor the people that helped create this. So Tony Crush, Tony Tone, he lives in Bridgeport now.
Okay.
From the Cold Crush Brothers, he's in the Smithsonian. You know, having the original group, and Run DMC was fashioned after his group. It's like his
Interesting.
claim to fame is he was doing no laces before they were. That's where
Interesting.
Russell Simmons got it. So
Ah.
hip hop always had that kind of thing going on, man. So it's like his group was the
It
hot
went
group.
from no laces to no belts.
Okay.
Or sagging. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
man.
amazing. So, I mean, it's been great just looking at the um, progression of hip hop. Obviously, I jumped into my contribution about 30 years ago when I
Mm.
got a call to do a music video for Wu-Tang, and I haven't really looked back since. After years of dealing with working with No Limit, and then coming back and deciding to get into independent filmmaking,
Hmm.
and still incorporate a lot of the hip hop elements.
Yes.
My documentaries that I've done, they're all part of that whole process too. So the interesting piece as it is now is trying to figure out, okay, what's the next 50 years?
Mm.
What do you think the
Okay.
next 50 years is going to be?
Man. Well, right now, I want to see more ownership when it comes to the people who created it. Right now, there's still a battle of going on. You clearly have the sample issue going on with James Brown and all this stuff. Right now, all the major record companies have bought all those catalogs.
Mm,
So they're not even getting pieces of that.
gotcha.
So that's the struggle, because it's everywhere. Mainstream TV, you're hearing something like the deepest hip hop music. I'm watching a commercial for real estate, and they're playing a break by Bra. Excuse me, Samande. Bra. I'm going like, whoa. Do those brothers? I saw them performing recently, but I'm like, Do they own that catalog? That's how my mind
Yeah,
is this way.
sadly, probably most of them don't. That's the sad part.
And that's why what they're doing now, and I give this modern era of hip hop credit that they're looking at that stuff. So no matter what's going on with Puffy, whoever else, they are still working towards their catalog, and they have to do it because that's where your longevity comes from,
Of course.
your residual income, and even the legacy for your family. I think right now the only thing that it can do, it's like this next evolution seems to be like where female rappers are becoming very, very, very dominant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, some of them are the ratchet ones.
Yes, and that's part of like where we're going. I asked a few of the young ladies that I work with, what do
Hmm.
you think and where that's going? And some like, I don't listen to that aspect of it. I said, wait a minute, now, there's been a discussion about men have been doing it for so long.
Right, right.
Okay, now you guys got a problem with women doing it. And so I asked him, I said, this is your opportunity. It's rolling like that. She's like, some things women don't need to say. I
Interesting.
was like, okay, okay, I get it. So it's going to be nothing but bigger because now with the media forms of streaming, video is the most visual part. Streaming didn't even exist years ago. And this stuff's exploding now. So it's a good thing. And I can see no end to it. I don't see anything evolving past it because of the culture. It's global
Right.
because you don't even have to be able to sing. You just need to have the lyrics.
Yeah, I think hip hop has always been just more about the attitude than anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's how you say it rather than what you're saying. Because these guys, they just deliver. I don't even understand like when you look at some of the foreign rappers. It
Mm-hmm.
might be somebody from a Gaza or
Mm-hmm.
France
Mm-hmm.
or Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand what they're saying, but they all say it with the same attitude. You understand? Even the South African rappers and so on and so forth. So that attitude and that bravado that was perfected here in New York
Mm.
or in the United States is just catapulted all across the world. And I thought that's amazing.
I
You
think
know,
the best thing that happened, G, is that a lot of the myths were clarified this year. Kool Herc
right,
was the original DJ.
right,
Now there's still some in that little corner say, yeah, but he is officially that guy. LL Cool J came out, we supported as well. It's
right.
for his sister Cindy. That's basically where he's laying the beats down, playing a lot of those breaks in the music that we have today. And evolving from that, you just started to dance to the music. So the b-boys created their own music, their own spins and all. It was all synergy at the same time. And then you had graffiti because back then,
Hmm.
you had people want a voice. That's what young people did.
Yeah.
They sprayed
There was
down the
no
train.
social media. That was the way you got your name to be known across, writing your name on the trains and
Did
so
you
on and
write
so
your name
forth.
on the train?
I used to go by Slick.
Ah,
That was
okay.
my name, but I could
Okay.
never. And I used to hook up that word really, just the way I had my S and the K at the end. But when you get older, it's like once I knew that my calling was
Mm-hmm.
on the visual end, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of left it alone. Not only that, it's kind of embarrassing when you're walking by and you're like, oh damn, I wrote my name on there. You know what I'm
Then they
saying?
started
Like
arresting
people,
people.
thank you. Remember there was a time where stickers was the thing. Everywhere had stickers, and they freaking passed a law, and you get fined if the stickers. Remember this must have been like 92,
Yeah,
93.
man.
Stickers were everywhere.
Yeah, bro.
That's amazing. So what's dope about it is, and we can segue. This is a
Hmm.
segue into my book,
Yes.
Shooting the Clan, Eyewitness to the Rise of the Clan. Even though it centers around Wu-Tang, but it's also my journey
Yes.
as a filmmaker. Not only that, as a New Yorker, as a black man, I basically just was able to chronicle that journey
Mm-hmm.
from being in Liberia
Mm-hmm.
as a kid and then, all of a sudden ended up in the United States after a coup,
Mm.
getting to where I am now, or living in Rhode Island, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden things happening, and then I end up in Staten Island, which where is the birthplace of Wu Tang, and being friends with these guys who were in their like teenagers, like
Yeah.
13, 14, is when I came across Raekwon the Chef and Inspector Deck and You God and a lot of the members Capadonna that grew up in my neighborhood, which is interesting. So being able to be a part of that, I discuss how my overall observation of what hip hop was. I remember hearing. There was no Hot 97 at the time, so Kiss FM would play maybe one hip hop record the whole day, and I'd be rushing to record it. And
Okay.
DJ Red Alert would come on and maybe spin for like an hour, and I'll hit record on my tape just to have access to the sounds. And I remember I used to think by turning up the record to the highest level, it'd be not knowing I was distorting the sound and all of that.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting. I used to be a big Fat Boys fan back in the
Oh
day
man,
when I
yeah.
came in.
Yeah.
And hip hop did have a diverse thing. I remember, the rapping Duke, Daha
Oh
Daha,
yeah, man.
and then Jam On It. Those are all like my early
Hmm.
memories of New York, but it was just fascinating to see. And what's crazy is we'll be going back and forth between Rhode Island and Staten Island during those years, and there's some of the fondest memories, and not realizing like I was passing through Bridgeport. You know what was crazy? I think this must have been like '84.
Hmm.
There was a bridge that collapsed, and a whole bunch of people died.
Yes. Yes.
We drove across that bridge
Wow.
literally a couple of hours
Wow.
before the collapse because we went up to Rhode Island. We came
Hmm.
came back and couldn't go no more in 80. I mean 95. We had to cut through. Had to get off the exit for like a
Yes.
couple of years. Remember?
That's the Mayanis Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been a part of that whole thing, man. And then I remember New York City. Even though it was violent, but it
Hmm.
wasn't gun violence.
Hmm.
People were being beat up and stabbed and so on and so forth, but they didn't die as much as
Hmm.
when the gunplay came in the late '80s, early '90s. That's when everything changed. I remember my
Hmm.
first few fights that I had moving into the neighborhood, and this guy pulled a knife out on me, and I just thought to myself, if this was
Wow.
5 to 10 years later, I would have been
Wow.
dead because that knife would have been a gun.
Yeah.
And I've seen those guys pull out guns too. That's what the
Hmm.
crazy thing about it. So yeah, so shooting the Klan. Basically, I chronicle all of that in the books, and I tell a story right in the book about '84. I needed to get a graduation suit,
Okay.
so I went and got a job selling newspapers on the Verrazano Bridge. And RZA's older brother King was like the supervisor. He got all
Okay.
the neighborhood kids, and he
Okay.
supervised them to go sell newspapers on the bridge.
Okay.
And I went out there and risked my life standing in the middle of the
I was
Verrazano
gonna
toll
say.
booth, holding the New York, Post and Daily News and Staten Island Advent, selling it for, you know, 25 cents, 35 cents back then. And I saved enough money to buy me a graduation suit. And it's
Mm.
interesting because that's a chapter in the book where I put how I came across Wu-Tang even earlier than it was because RZA's older brother was someone that I connected with, like I said. And then there's Deck, Inspector Deck, who's recognized as one of the most profound lyricists in hip hop. And back then, these guys were on the edge of just being cast away. They were one incident away from being sent away to Spofford or locked up, so on and so forth. And the reason I say that is it was a delicate time where you can go this way, you can go that way. And by
Hmm.
becoming members of that group, it changed their lives
Mm.
totally. So it gave an opportunity for a lot of people from my neighborhood to succeed. I remember the first summer that I met Method Man came into the neighborhood, I think, much later. He came in the late '80s, early '90s, if I'm not mistaken, and we became good friends. I remember when he was hustling on the block, and I remember because this is when I was going to college. This is like
Hmm.
'88. I was in college, just being out there and really just seeing how the neighborhood changed. And I thought it was only Park Hill that went through that. When I
Hmm.
traveled to Atlanta and LA, I found out all those inner city or urban neighborhoods were devastated by crack. and all these young kids was trying to feed their families,
Yeah,
and they
man.
got caught up. A lot of them died, of course. A lot of them got caught up in long-term prison sentences, so on and so forth. So that also chronicles that, and then it goes to the '80s. I mean, the early '90s when I graduated from college, and then I get a phone call. I don't even think it's a phone call. These guys just track me down. Yo, we need your help. We need to um, do a video. The first guy didn't finish up the first video. We heard you do videos, or you just got out of film school. And I had access to film cameras and so on and so forth. And we shot that first METHOD man video, and that just set everything off. So, and then as time went on, we ended up. I did it. The next one was the mystery of chess boxing. Then I went and did an Ill and Out scratch. And we had a nice little team. We did a Mad Lion video. We
Wow.
did, oh my goodness, so many videos. Back then, we did like some stuff for RA the Rugged Man. Jive RCA used to be down the street. I think
Mm-hmm.
they were on 27th Street, and we were on 26th Street, but on the opposite end, I think. And what was crazy was we got all these little jobs to do. I remember shooting some behind the scenes stuff for Trop Called Quest. I did a video for Heather B.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of
Listen,
things, man.
you have been you're naming some of the biggest names, okay? And
Well,
it's
for
like,
people may not know those people now, but Ill and Out Scratch, those are my boys. They
mhm,
continue to give me mad support throughout the whole process. Shout out to them because they blew up, you know what I'm
mhm,
saying, with that Where's My Homies? That was
mhm.
a great video that we did. And from that going on to what was the other there's so many things. I mean, back then
Mhm.
it's funny because there's so many artists who were popping back then, and it just sometimes it's heartbreaking to see how many people were doing what they had to do. Either the music industry just
Mhm.
used them to get the sales and then threw them to the side.
Gotcha.
That's the sad thing. A lot of
Yeah.
talented people that never
Yeah.
got on because of. I remember we were supposed to shoot a video. I forgot the artist's name, but we were supposed to shoot this video on a Saturday or Friday night. He decides to hop the turnstile and gets arrested. So we get a phone call from the record label saying,
Oh,
"Hey,
man.
it ain't happening." So I never heard of that artist again. And all
Mhm.
these other, we used to do a hip hop TV show back in the day called The Party Scene. It was like a low budget version of Video
Mhm.
Music Box, and interviewing all these people and getting all these people to freestyle on there. There was so many talented people. But the crazy thing that I noticed from the '80s, I mean from the that '90s era, from '92 to like 2000, maybe even a little bit earlier, like
Mhm.
is that that same thing is happening again in Atlanta now.
Wow,
The fact
man.
that I live in Atlanta, like
Wow.
you walk down the
Yeah.
streets. I remember shooting a low budget video for a kid. He's like, "Yo, dude, I got these guys that are trying to get signed, and I want to give them a cameo in the
Mhm.
video." So I was like, "No problem." We shoot at a place called the Varsity,
Okay.
and it was the freaking Migos
Wow.
before they got on. And then
Wow.
he was like, "Yo, they like what you're doing. They want to see if you could do that video." I'm like, "Okay, no problem."
Mhm.
So just hook it up and we'll do it. I don't want to do business while I'm working
Mhm.
for you. So the artist I was shooting got arrested and went away for like 6 months.
Man.
He finally gets out, and the kids already blew up. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. That's the
I
crazy thing
got you.
about it is being in Atlanta. Like almost every kid is gonna be a superstar. Same way like it was being from Brooklyn
Right. I
back
got
in
you.
the day. You know what
I
I'm
got
saying? If
you.
you were from Brooklyn, you just automatically became a superstar in the '90s, and now it's all about Atlanta. But they held that thing for a long time,
Mm.
man.
Mm.
But I was able to, back in '97, '98, I got connected with No Limits, and I got signed to be a director, and I directed 20 videos for Master
Wow.
P in like a
Wow.
year and a half period, and that was
Wow.
him at his height. And I banged out a whole bunch of videos from
Wow.
"It Ain't My Fault" to "Hootie Hoo" to videos for TRU. I did a
So
whole
so
bunch of videos for these
so
guys.
so so again, Master P. I'm just like, bro, you are a well versed and very diverse director. I mean, you really work with some of the biggest names, and you're a humble guy. So it's like when those names are out there of who's doing what, I think we have a tendency to know who like that top 1% is, kind of like where the actors are.
Right, right, right.
You know the top 1%, because you know their names, but the other 99% they're doing a whole lot of work, and you're getting the benefit and seeing what you're doing. Um, to the Wu Tang for a sec. Now this may not be a question that you know, but this might be something. But I have to ask. Um, when it comes to RZA, he's probably the most uh, prolific, probably because he's done so much in the movie industry.
Hmm.
I mean, they're all super talented, Inspector Deck, and so on. I think the world was. I found this to be surprised when Rihanna named her son after him. Did he know anything about that?
No, let me tell you, man. I think that that group when they came out, and I remember it. Driving past Bridgeport again to go to Providence. This was like '93. We were still just coming out of the studios. I followed them. I was in the studio while they were finalizing the album, so
Mm-hmm.
I was there to witness all these things. And then I was like, okay, we're gonna follow them and get more B rolls. We went to Rhode Island for a show they did in Providence,
Okay.
and to see how maybe there was 200 people in the audience at some tight ass nightclub, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden to now go to arenas. The impact that they had was amazing, and I think that maybe she was going for having R in the names. I don't know. You know
Mm-hmm.
how some people put,
I got
yeah,
you.
but
I
RZA
got you.
RZA's influence has always been pretty dope, and I'm sure that there was a sense of that, and I think that the impact is undeniable, man. So
Oh, without a
so it's
doubt.
paying homage. Now I got to give some kind of props to her baby's father. Maybe he'd named the kid that. He could have
Ah,
been
Rocky.
influenced
Yeah,
by that,
yeah.
yeah. So maybe Aesop Rocky decided that he was gonna honor. I mean, naming your kid after someone, and because RZA has such a unique name,
Yes.
uh,
It's hard to say with like, you don't you just don't cut in like the baby names.
yeah,
But, thumbs up to him. I think it shows the respect clearly that they had because you're going to associate him with that,
of course.
in his legacy and who he is. So it shows who he is. So thumbs up to them. And the it also connected this newer generation because even as popular as Wu Tang is, there's a gap that's there. Where you started having, the next generation that birthed the Megan Thee Stallions and so on. As we're speaking about the hip hop industry, females is
Right,
coming on
right,
through.
right.
There's like a gap there, so it's like that historic part of the Wu Tang Clan. There's people there, but your film, I believe, is going to help bridge that gap.
There's a scene in that film where, we were we were set up and ready to film the concert, but
Mm-hmm.
because I do what I do, I always wanted to figure out. I want to interact with the fans, so I ran out for like 30 minutes. I got my team. Okay, let's go. There's a
Gotcha.
line. There was a line that was like maybe
Wow.
500 deep,
Wow.
and I decided let me just go ahead and talk to them.
Yes.
And that's one of my best moments in the film because I got a chance to talk to kids that was 14, 15
Mm.
years old
Mm.
that was nowhere around when Wu Tang blew up. But then these kids are such profound fans.
Mm.
Bam, I connected with them. And I remember someone commenting how that's the favorite part of the movie because I was able to interact with them and get that
Okay.
extra background
Okay.
on the clan. So there's not much of a huge difference. I'll be honest with you. I think hip hop appeals to the youth
Mm.
and they can recognize good talent no matter what. And I think because Wu Tang's music is timeless,
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff and they're just very unique. So I think that comes across. And I was able to, like I said, put that in the film. So for those who don't know, I mean, we're talking about a lot of things. I will say I am the official Wu Tang director. I came in and did the next project for the group that they didn't have. Oh, part of the list that I needed to mention. I did a video around the same time as Mystery of Chess Boxing for a Canadian rapper called Maestro Fresh West. I also did a music video for Nona Hendrix.
Mm.
The Gap Band did a song with No Limit, so I filmed them
Okay.
as well. So it's a lot of stuff. The overall deal is that Wu Tang's impact, their longevity, is something. I mean, listen, I wouldn't say I was a fortune teller to tell,
Hmm.
but meeting RZA, and he wasn't, like I said, I mentioned the other guys. He wasn't
Hmm.
from my neighborhood,
Hmm.
but most people would ride the ferry back and forth, and there
Gotcha.
was a section on the ferry that most of the cool kids sat.
Okay.
You go up to the front, and then you
Okay.
go to the top right. That's where
Okay.
you sat. And I remember
Wow.
sitting there one day, and RZA was sitting opposite from me. This is must have been like 91, whatever it was right
Mm.
before he was facing a gun charge
Mm.
at the time, and we just talked about things. And I told him I was in film school at the time, and we just just chit chatting, and that's how we really cross pollinated.
Wow.
You understand? Prior to that, I mean, like I said, I dealt with Capadonna and Meth, and all these guys are from
Mm.
my neighborhood, so it
Mm.
was easier. We were all on that level. Raekwon was next door to my one of my best friends, so we will always interact.
Okay.
But even Power and these guys, these are all the guys that I grew up around, but never really RZA. But
Mm.
I think once we met at the right time because I became an asset to the group.
Gotcha.
So I, brought consistency in terms of video production. I was definitely not the most talented. They had people that were doing like Hype
Mm.
Williams. They were bigger at the time, but they had access to this stuff, and I was able to get good quality work for a
Outstanding.
fraction of the price.
Mm.
And that's how it just took off from there. So basically, as I was mentioning, my position in the group has always been consistency, delivering on the visual elements. And years later, all of the footage that I was shooting back in the day ended up becoming my first documentary, Wu, the story of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
That got picked up, won a lot of awards, and got picked up by BET,
Mm-hmm.
and it went to wherever it went. And then, like I said, me continuing to do my feature films and so on and so forth, operating outside of the Wu, but whenever the call
Mm-hmm.
comes in,
Oh yeah.
I'm able to make things happen. So,
Mm.
and that's how I was able to pull it off, and that's what the book captures. It takes it up to present day,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're probably going to pick up and go beyond. What's dope about having a book is you can always do revisions to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can go
Yes.
back in and
Yes. Yeah.
add elements to it. But I remember getting a call. It was April 2021, and RZA and I, we hadn't really been in touch for years, and he
Mm.
asked if I could shoot some videos for ODB's son, YDB,
Wow.
and I went ahead and I shot a project for him. And then ODB had another son called Weather Park. I shot a
Mm.
video for him, a couple of videos for him, and it just took off from there. We ended up going to Miami doing some work, and then I got called again to do some work on the New York State of Mind tour. So
Oh.
RZA asked me to produce some how do you call them, like, so I did the intro
Mm-hmm.
for Wu Tang. I did the intro for Nas, and then I created a lot of the visuals that you now see on the show. So I have a graphic artist that's worked with me for the longest called Cyber Pixie, and we ended up designing most of the New York State of Mind shows. And if you watch it visually, it's phenomenal. And that was something I had never done before, but I knew I could do it, so I banged it
Mm-hmm.
out, and it came out good. Since then, it's evolved into something even greater.
Mm-hmm.
That we are like really just on a whole other level right now in terms of what we're doing. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
I heard that the Wu Tang is in negotiation to have a video game.
No, there was a video game done maybe like almost 20 years ago. The Wu Tang had a video game, but I'm sure they're probably coming back with something even better. I thought you were going to talk about their residency. They got a residency in
Oh yes,
Vegas.
yes. The residency. That's when you hit residency in Vegas. That's butter right there for any
Hmm.
artist. That's butter. because you're going to get everybody in the world that's going to come and find you. That is well deserved, and definitely well deserved. So now, when you go to Vegas, you put Wu-Tang on the list. When you go, what was that? And hang out over there, man. And I did hear on the news though recently, Microsoft is doing a new Wu-Tang game.
Okay, yeah, he did mention that in a meeting we had recently. So you're right. They're in talks with Microsoft. Listen, the Wu Tang brand is major. Uh, it eclipses. I can't even think of any other group because
Yeah,
in terms of super groups,
yeah.
you're looking at the Fugees. They're kind of defunct
Mm-hmm.
in the sense
Yeah.
that
Sure,
they're
sure,
not together. These
sure.
guys, you can catch them any month of the year. They're performing
Mm-hmm.
as a group, so the unity is bigger and better than uh, most other groups. Public Enemy, the key people splintered,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I used to be a big PE fan back in the
Oh
day.
yes. What do you think of the PE piece that's missing in a lot of hip hop right now?
I mean, listen, obviously the message, man, and maybe this is what embedded us with a level of consciousness back in the day
Yes.
where PE was telling you stuff and they were informing you. So those type of rappers seem to be far gone. And I like PE was selling platinum records, so it's not
Yeah.
like they were not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were positive. So I don't
Yes.
know why the shift all of a sudden, and it could be, those who control the entertainment and music industries. You know what? We like the negativity because we can guarantee people going to jail. We can sell weapons and so on. I don't know. Bottom line
Yes.
is that's that. Whereas, because I used to love the Queen Latifahs and all the
Yeah.
people that were
Yeah.
speaking, and they went platinum.
Sure. So that tells you there's a market for it, and obviously, Wu Tang does what they do. I'm saying because no group can be responsible for everything, but someone with their talent very well could do that. But that's the balance I think that we're missing in hip hop.
That's
Kind of
the
what you
key
talked
word you just
about,
said, balance.
where it becomes that history has never been more important to our young brothers. I think they've lost their identity. I mean, I don't think they see the love that they should have for one another. This is my brother. We go through the same thing. When the cops come and stop, they stop in all of us. If they're gonna pull the trigger, it's gonna be on all of us. If we're gonna deal with social discourse and so on, the all of that, those things that are geared towards black men, it's all of us.
Yeah, I think like a KRS One should not be as silenced as he
Yes.
is now. He should be a major, prominent voice. But the powers that be know, man. They know that in order to keep you materialistic. I remember there was a time when nobody wore gold. They were wearing
Oh yes,
their African medallions
yes.
and so on and so forth. Maybe the jewelry sales went down. Oh, can't have that anymore. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So truthfully, the influence that hip hop has on the world is very, very monumental. Unfortunately, those voices have been marginalized and almost made to look as corny when that's
Mm.
the basis that most hip hop was on is getting the message across of who was your enemy and who controlled things and so on and so forth. Or so they just push the ratchetness and criminal element and drug abuse element more than anything now, which is sad. Which is sad. So I'm thinking maybe it's going through a phase.
Mm. Okay.
But if Cardi B comes out with the ratchetness and then sets a standard, and then all of a sudden now, like if you're like, I was watching these women perform, it's like they're freaking damn near butt naked on stage.
And unfortunately, they're living up to the stereotypes that a lot of us have, that the world has of us, and they feeding it.
Of
And,
course,
and at the end of the day, look, sex always sells. There's a teenager, somebody going through puberty
of
every,
course.
and it's geared. Music industry is geared for the ages of 12 to 18. They're like the biggest purchasers of music. Obviously, they don't spend their own money. They don't have that much. That's from the parents.
Right, right.
But if you look at a lot of the stuff
Disposable
that's out
income.
there, that's targeting, and we need that balance more than ever with the assaults that are going on to our black community in particular, getting history rewritten and even erased down in Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma. People are learning about that.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. There's, I mean, well, social media changed everything. So you know how right now you have a huge um, bit of information. Like even me, I watch YouTube
mm,
for several hours in the day, and there's so much information.
yes.
And then you just realize how much information you were not getting from back in the days. I watched
Mm.
documentaries that would blow anybody's mind,
Oh, me too.
and the truth. Some people, like that movie said, some people can't handle the truth. My goodness.
Yeah,
It's a
that was
lot
a
of
few good
information.
men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of information out there. But I love it. And I feel like there's a sense of duty to at least inform people. And I think black people in general just needed somehow, if you know,
Mm.
it just makes it that then it's up to you to whether you want to follow through. But if the information is kept from you, like, we were discussing how they are trying to ban books and certain stories, certain history.
Oh, yes.
They don't even want to be known.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said they were like, hey, they want to say that Harriet Tubman didn't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
but these people pushed everything forward. And truthfully, even though I heard there's a threat to bring out what um, Martin Luther King did in his private life, who cares? He catapulted and rose people out of where they needed to be where they are now. Who cares? That means I like him even more. That means despite all of that, he was
Mm-hmm.
still able to take people to a whole other level and risk his life. He basically gave up his life for that because
Without a
most of
doubt.
these people we have now are cowards.
Oh,
Ain't
yeah.
that many freaking rappers are even willing to stand up front and take a bullet and say, okay, well, I'll take a bullet if my people can elevate to the next level. They
Exactly.
won't do it.
They,
So,
they don't even want.
so King was gangster.
Yes, he was. He is, and that's that whole other piece we talked about earlier. When you love your people so much, when you know that you gonna be a target,
Yeah,
but you have to move it forward, and you don't know where it's gonna come from, but you know you at risk. And when you look at it now, they don't have the same risk. We can say things that we couldn't say before
of course.
without being physically assassinated
Right.
by a bullet. However, they worry about cutting their money back.
So what do you that? So that brings my attention to Kanye. What do you think about Kanye and his positioning in hip hop? Does he count? Do you count him as those who's willing to say and risk everything?
I think Kanye honestly has a medical issue. I think his diagnosis of being bipolar is real. I mean, I know some people who are, and I think that has an impact on him throughout his career. He's a supremely talented guy, as many geniuses are when you look them up.
Right.
They've had some type of psychological issues. But when he goes to that place, he's a public figure.
Right.
So if that's one thing, with something that happens in your family, in your house, and they're going, a little bit off. But when you're that person, and you're talking about again, same thing. He had the whole Rosa Parks thing. His statement that she didn't do anything. I mean, it's like we have these moments, but I believe when he's in his right state of mind.
Yeah. What is it? A broken clock is right at least twice a day.
That's right. There you go.
And that's basically what he is. And you got to take from him. Some things he does just to get attention to sell an album. And there are times where he's telling you stuff that you may not understand now.
Mm-hmm.
In 5 years, you would definitely understand. So you have to listen
Visionary guy.
keenly to
Yes.
him.
Yes.
That's real. That's real. Yeah, man. So I think that my overall statement about hip hop at this point is that we have come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop has created the most amount of wealth outside of the sports era.
Mm.
Because I told a story about how Master P set off to become an NBA player, but didn't realize he become a music mogul. He was still focused on trying to do his music, his sports breakout,
Mm-hmm.
but he already achieved what he needed to do because at the end of the day, he just wanted to feed his family.
Mm-hmm.
by any means necessary. So now, I see how he's pushing his kids into sports, but all of these things got trappings also because they're all controlled by people. And for a second there, he was the most powerful man in the music industry because he
Yes.
controlled all of these things, and
Yes.
he was able to. His marketing skills are phenomenal. But I heard him say something recently, which was because he had a lot of problems with his artists, getting arrested and
Mm-hmm.
in prison, including his brother, and so on and so forth. He's like, listen, I sell cereal and I sell noodles now
Mm-hmm.
and potato chips. Guess what? The potato chips are never late. They would, and potato chips would never get arrested. So in the long run, he may have had something. He just took all the marketing skills that he
Mhm.
had and applied it to potato chips and noodles.
Well, I think that, and that's a great move because he now is no longer depending on like the music as a commodity when you can break into a product,
Yeah,
and that is pretty great, man.
the music was always a product, so you get.
Yeah, so transforming into you're gonna be eating your potato chips while you listen to
I
your
thought that was
music.
brilliant to put all the rap stars on the
Yeah,
bags of
man, the
potato
rap
chips.
chips.
I've,
That
I've yet to taste it though. That's the crazy thing. I don't know if I bought one.
man, I tried about seven of
But yeah, the
them.
barbecue flavor is like really, really good.
Oh, listen, man, I look for the rap snacks. I mean, they are that good.
I wonder how that business model is structured. Does the artists on each bag of chips get a royalty from each? Maybe
I would imagine
they
producing
get
the
maybe
life or
like
something.
2 cents, 2 cents from every bag of chips they get paid from it. That's not bad, not bad at all. So yeah, man. So obviously we can talk forever
Yeah,
about the state of hip hop, but at the same time, continuing to move to where we need to go, I think will be a amazing journey conversation we can pick up several months from now, and we can go from there.
sounds good, man. Final words before we leave.
Uh-huh.
Young hip hop artists. I mean, you wound up, where New York was back then. Kind of crazy as you say. There's new artists coming along now who feel like a criminal record doesn't matter. In fact, if you get that, it makes it better to some degree. That kind of still exists. But what do you think of the ones who don't take that risk as serious as it should, especially in the environment that we're in now?
Well, I think in general, the overall positioning of black and brown people from the '80s when hip hop was just making noise to now, like my kids grew up in a house. They don't even know what it is to live in an apartment. You
Gotcha.
understand? I heard
Hmm.
some rapper, some NBA guy say his son is out there selling the image of like him. It's like, dude, you grew up in a gated community. You understand?
Yep.
So a lot of
Yep.
time is it's putting on this image, But I think, say Ice
Hmm.
Cube, had a mother and father. So even though he was from a rough area, they projected that image across and realized that the gangsterism sells.
Hmm.
So, if you do an R-rated movie, if you curse on your album, you're most likely to sell more.
Gotcha.
So it's all part of the marketing. I think that like some people will do a movie and put some titties in the movie because
Hmm.
they know that's gonna sell it a bit more. Or the violence where okay, we need some car crashes, got to be some shootings.
I got you. I got
So
you.
I think is a part of it. So with the new guys, on one end, their lives are way better. They can, come from a neighborhood and get millions of followers and
Mm.
parlay that into some sort of a career. They make money off of it, but at the same time, they're also lacking certain humility. They don't know what it is to have certain things. They feel everything is privilege. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe
Hmm.
our
Hmm.
generation before us looked at us growing up in the
Hmm.
70s and 80s. They're like, these kids are so spoiled, so on and so forth. You understand?
Hmm.
We never had hot water. We
Yep.
all had to
Yep.
sleep on the same
Yep.
bed.
Yep.
They don't have that. My kids all got their own bedrooms, and they can move around the house. And you have 5, 6 TVs in the house, and everybody got their
I
own
got you.
TV or they use their phone. They don't know how it is to have one TV with the remote control where you're either fighting for the remote or you only had like 4 or 5 channels. Remember back in the day? You can edit on your phone now, unlike before. You had
Yeah.
to go to a session,
Yeah.
spend hundreds of dollars every hour. You can teach yourself to be a filmmaker. There's stuff I'm learning on YouTube every week that's taking my whole thing to a whole other level. That's another thing. I mean, like I said, the information that's
Mm.
available to people right now is phenomenal, and you can become a master if you put yourself to it. If you apply yourself, everything is, the sky's the limit.
Mm.
You can teach yourself how to make beats. You can teach yourself how to direct videos. You teach yourself how to use After Effects. You teach yourself how to use Photoshop. You can teach yourself how to become a major social media influencer. You can literally figure out how to get 10,000 people to watch your video. And that's all stuff that they know. My daughter, who's 10,
Hmm.
gets on her phone and is editing, things. And I remember, the first time I did nonlinear, and I had gone to college, imagine, and not doing nonlinear editing until, sheesh, must have been like mid 90s. The Avid came out, we were able to, but even at that, I think it was almost $100,000
Wow.
for the decent system.
Hmm.
You can get a low res one for maybe 35, 40,000.
Wow.
Now you
Okay.
got that capability on your phone.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, I think in the long run, if things go in cycle. What's funny is my son, I see him digging through my old cameras.
Hmm.
These young kids now are looking for the old look.
Wow.
So they want the VHS quality,
Got you. Got you.
mini DV quality so that
Got
they
you.
can apply. They have filters. It's called VHS. You
Hmm.
put it on to make it look degraded and old. So things are going in circle and cycles. Like now they're acknowledging all of their pioneers and older rappers.
Mm.
Who knows? I think, like we've mentioned, the pioneers have been recognized this year more than any other time in
Hmm.
history. These guys are dusting themselves out and doing shows all over. And I think that's a great thing.
It is. It is. Well
Yeah.
deserved because they lived in obscurity for so long.
Yeah.
And like now the media was open to let them in. Where prior to that it became the value was how much money we're gonna make by promoting this older, artist, this originator, or the real ones as they call them. What we really get out of that when they're not really in there. We could sell a record. It's just a matter of history. And I want to give out a shout out to my girl, the original DJ Spinderella.
Yeah, yeah. You told me the
Yeah,
history of
well,
that.
man,
That's dope.
she's
Yeah.
and the short story is she is the original female DJ, Salt and Pepper, the original one. And in fact, she was the one who DJ'd, at the time when Chuck D and these guys were doing their thing.
Right.
Um, and she literally broke that into the industry, and also was the first signed female DJ to a
Oh,
label.
wow. I didn't realize
So
that.
there's, you know, things like that that still exist. And I want to give her a shout out. And, Deidre came later. She was like 14 or 15 because in the beginning, after that first Push It album, things happened within the group
Right.
and she decided to go a different route, but she still maintained her DJ stuff. And if you see her today, she looks phenomenal. So the original DJ Spinnerella, y'all, check her out online. Um, but that's the story with a lot of groups like this, you
Yeah.
know. So that's why this year of clarification, I think, was phenomenal, long overdue. I just hope they do that with bands and R&B music, because man, it's like so
Unsung
many
is pretty
people on there.
good on telling that story, though. I mean,
Yes.
Unsung, produced by a good friend of mine. It's got P. Frank Williams.
Oh,
Is
okay.
one of the best ways to go back. They bring the backstory. I'm fascinated when I'm learning
I
that
agree.
these people were going through the ratchetness back then too.
Oh
The
yes.
industry that was like chewing them up and spitting them out.
Hmm.
What's the R&B singer? I forgot her name, but damn. But yeah, I didn't realize a lot of those names that you've been hearing, and then they had like all tragic endings.
Mm.
So the industry, the entertainment industry, has this element of just chewing and spitting the people out. The percentage of the ones that do survive or
Mm-hmm.
make it. It's very small.
Mm.
A lot of them are gone, you know, and they don't care. It's all right. We'll take them. We'll use them.
There's plenty
Throw
more
them
out
to the
there.
side. Yeah, exactly. That's sad, you know. But shout out to hip hop for 50 years of moving. You can check out my project. My book is called Shooting the Clan. You can go to shootingtheclan.com and you can pick up a copy. gbproductionsnyc.com, GEEBEE productionsnyc.com. There's a lot of stuff on there. You just Google my name, Gerald Barclay, and you'll see a lot of the things that I've done. You know, in the long run, I wouldn't change a thing in terms of, you know, the amount of work that I put in. Yes, I could have gone and worked for. At one point, I wanted to get involved in computers.
Mm.
And I could have just worked, you know, as a
Mm-hmm.
computer programmer or some sort of IT job. But, you know, we're able to make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what keeps pulling me in more and more. You know, I feel like I'm just getting started,
Yes, brother.
you know, so that's the reality of it. All right, my man.
Well, thanks for coming to Bridgeport for your first kickoff book tour, man. I hope we
Yeah,
do you
yeah, no,
proud
you
and
you
keep us
guys
on
you
there.
guys set the standard of what I need to. You know, they got to match it now. That's the key thing. You got
Uh,
to match it.
Step it on up. Step it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
up.
yeah. My rule is you got to be as good as or better than.
Okay. But
My
look
man.
for this guy coming to the town. Make sure you got everybody come out and get that book. If you're in Bridgeport, I just got a few
Oh yeah,
myself.
yeah,
He
yeah.
signed something already, you
And
know.
shout out to Kindred Thoughts Bookstore who got a stack of books in there, and I
Oh yeah.
autographed a few of them too. So
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Get on down there, see Corinne. You know, much love out there to everybody, and I thank this brother here for coming and being a part of this interview, man. I
No
feel
doubt, man.
very
No, it's a
blessed
good.
and
I
privileged.
need to have these conversations more because I didn't realize people don't know, and you got to let them know. All right,
Absolutely.
my man. Peace.